We had a need in the district for more parking. Quite simply, the general rule of thumb for any community library is to have one parking space for each of the seats that are in the library, half of the seats, half the number of seats, and one for each of your employees. We were short around 24 to 30 parking spaces, depending upon how loose you wanted to count seating in the library itself. So we had an opportunity by looking. There you go. Not so good a part. So aerial view, the piece of property. This is our library, and this is the piece of property that you can see it became available for sale. Our parking had been restricted to just this L-shaped area that frames the building. When we looked at the parcel across the street, this was a piece of property that was not available for residential development. It could have been developed commercially, but the owner didn't want to see that kind of commercial development. He really was kind of vague on what he wanted to have happen. He didn't want competition for the businesses that he owned in front of it. So he was very happy to see us as part of the interested group looking to purchase his parcel. Now, $150,000 is a lot for a piece of land off of Long Island, but again, since most building plots go in at $250,000, this $150,000 was definitely a bargain for us. And what we looked at when we met with the designers for the parking lot itself were the things that will challenge you, I think, as a community. First thing is obviously look for the values that your community has. And Lindenhurst is a blue-collar community. It's a very, very solid middle-class community. It is not home to people who are going to think about ethereal notions such as, producing, energy without any kind of pollution. They're interested in primarily two things: boating and good value. Boating is very important. We're a South Shore community on Long Island. A number of our residents grew up, as Peter and I did, very aware of the importance that the Great South Bay and the ocean played in terms of the community's development. When we were in high school, it was possible to go out in the summertime and earn an entire college year's worth of money in one summer just bringing clams up off the bed of the Great South Bay. That happened, that was possible all the way through the 60s, and all of a sudden it dried up, and it dried up because of essentially pollution to the Great South Bay. And the remedies for the pollution became very expensive. One of the biggest, the large-scale remedy for the pollution obviously was the creation of a Southwest sewer district, which meant constructing a multi-million-dollar plant that was going to handle wastewater. But it still didn't address one of the primary problems that Great South Bay faces every single time it rains. What's going to happen to all that water that carries with it oil, fertilizer runoff, salt from the roadways, and that again eventually washes into the bay, changing what is the normal saline content, the normal structure and composition of the water. So we felt that we had a prime opportunity as a community to address a real concern, a concern about something that's been primal to the community for years, the value of the Great South Bay as a place to go to boat, to fish, to teach your kids about the way that nature actually works. The second aspect of our community that I believe you can communicate to any community is the value of a parking lot such as the one we're going to talk about. If you're going to build an asphalt parking lot, you're going to spend $85,000 on Long Island. It's guaranteed. By the time you buy the piece of, and that's in addition to the piece of land. So you're going to buy your piece of land, you're going to clear it, you're going to lay down your bed, you're going to put a piece of asphalt over it, you're going to put storm drains in it. And then you're going to come back a couple years later and you're going to recoat that parking lot. And you're going to clean out the storm drains. You're going to repaint it. And then you're going to come back 10 years after you've purchased it and construct it, and you're going to maybe you're going to repair the entire surface because it's been so potholed. So by the time 20 or 30 years has gone by over the course of that over the life of that parking lot, you've rebuilt the parking lot 2 or 3 times. So our goal as a community, as members of this community, was to give back to the community something that would be a 50-year parking lot. Could we make a parking lot that was going to last 50 years? And we challenged our architect to come up with a design, challenged the team that was going to be involved to give us the longest lasting parking lot they possibly could. And they were able to deliver. The parking lot today exists right across from the library. As you can see, it's connected by a little crosswalk. But this aerial view gives you a real sense of it. And I know it's a little bit hard to see. We can do this. Look at that. Now, this is where, if you can just bear with me here, these little shadows, those are our solar panels collecting light, collecting the energy that's going to sustain the LED lights. And I will get down to each one of these. The little parking lot dividers that you see here, we used interlocking pavers, and all we simply did to make the lines was to change the color of the paver. So there's no paint involved. And you'll notice, of course, throughout the entire surface of the parking lot, no storm drains, nothing of that nature. And I'll bring you a little bit closer so you can see each one of the elements. So basically, our design eliminated the need for conventional drainage structures of any type, because we have laid these pavers on top of gradations of crushed stone, which will enable the water to percolate down in a very natural fashion. We did run into, and this is one challenge, Sarah, the soil sometimes is a total unknown. You have no idea what's going to happen when you start digging. We did not find Jimmy Hoffa. We did not find Indian artifacts, both of which would have been very detrimental. But we also did not find good dirt. It wasn't, for whatever reason, it was the kind of sand or lack of sand, but it was not the composition that it was too silty and would not perk in the way that the land actually right across the road in our own backyard had the right composition. So we had to mix in. Actually, it's another slide. You'll be able to see our middle school, which was built in the 1930s, and between the dumping that they did in order to build that building and the things that they might have scraped off, they probably took a good portion of what we needed with them. But at any rate, the aggregate stone became one challenge that we did have to address. We actually built in wicks, and I'll show you the wicks that facilitated even more draining. Along the side of the parking lot, along the side of the parking lot, right along the edges, the whole perimeter on three sides is bordered by a bioswale. There are no curbs in the parking lot. It's a level parking lot. Whatever excess water there might be will overflow into the bioswale. The bioswale is then populated with natural vegetations, plants that are drought resistant, don't need to be addressed in any way, shape, or form. And because of the bioswale, we're catching any excess water and utilizing that as part of the to feed those plants. As I said, the lighting itself is solar powered. We've exceeded all of the candle watt requirements for a parking lot, and we have absolutely no filtration into the night sky. Finally, the last thing that I suppose is quite important is that our maintenance on a day like today, we would not plow that parking lot because we're on a bed of gravel. The natural thermal qualities of the gravel enable us, in fact, to skip the scraping that would normally be done, and we do not salt it at all. This was the lot prior to construction with the middle school right behind it. Our original design, as you can see, gave us shared one of the things that we did find. The original design talked about using recycled wheel stops and straddling the parking spaces when we did sustain a cost and a change order, because when we put it in, it looked great on the drawing, it seemed practical, but when we actually saw it, it was a big mistake. It seemed totally contradictory. So, again, a little lesson to be learned. It's possible for everything to look great, and in actuality to find yourself looking at something that does need to be changed. And again, the light poles that are provided in the illustration also are much larger, the collections, and at different spot. I will show you those. The crosswalk itself was another. We had to reckon with this notion of connecting, and we did that through paint and through the installation of some additional brick on the other side. But it's important to realize that the avenue that these people are walking across, Lee Avenue, is a cul-de-sac. It's generally a quiet street. Here we have two. I want to show you first the gravel base and the composite fencing that was used to frame three sides of the parking lot. This again is a fence that's a composite made of plastic and wood, all from recycled sources. It's a product, a timber tech product, and it will require no maintenance whatsoever other than a power wash. There is no life expectancy on this because they don't expect it to ever rot. It just keeps on going and going and going. It's the Energizer Bunny of fences. So the life expectancy, as I say, could be 50 years or more. The stone drainage that we had to incorporate in 5 spots provides additional wicking because we had very poor subsoil. By the use of, again, stone gradations, we were able to use the aggregate to cause the whatever excess water might have built up on the parking lot to be wicked down. And you can see the 5 locations in the illustration on the right. The lighting is provided by means of the solar collection panel, which then transmits the collected energy into a battery that's stored in the battery box underground. The lighting itself is connected through a conduit that occurs at the base of the pole. The pole is a standard aluminum pole. It's not anything new or novel. Our lighting design, through the use of the 6 LEDs, and again, these are fixtures that the company that we contracted actually had to design and build. This is something, again, a new challenge. You're going to bring an idea, and somebody doesn't have the product. You have to have a lot of trust and a lot of conversations with people who are going to be involved. So today, here we are. We have a parking lot. The parking lot, as I say, is able to support 20 cars, solar collector plates, the LEDs that provide our lighting. If you look at the recycled wheel stops, you'll notice that, again, they are one dedicated for each spot. That little spot over here is not a drainage. That's a shadow. You'll notice that the curb itself is even with the top level with the level of the pavers. Whatever water might collect would spill right into the bioswale that runs the perimeter of the parking lot. It's able to not only go without any kind of irrigation, but since we didn't have to worry about moving electrical service from the library across the street and constructing or perhaps increasing the amount of service and constructing all sorts of new service facilities on a new parking lot, we again were able to save ourselves and taxpayers, I think, some money.